Okay, we will go ahead and get started here. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jamie Staten, and I'm the Family Engagement Specialist here at TRECA. And we're going to have a refresher session today on checking and understanding student progress. And we have Mr. Daly here from our teaching staff that is going to help walk us through these topics. So I will go ahead and hand it over to him at this time.
Thank you so very much. My name is Daniel Daly. I'm a social studies teacher at the high school here at TRECA. I've worked at TRECA for, I think, my 13th year. So I've been here a while. If your student is in the high school and has American government, I teach one of the sections of that, as well as some smaller elective classes as well. So we're so thankful that you're taking the time out of your morning to come check out this session about checking student progress. Or if you're watching a recording later, we do thank you so much for supporting your student and learning about how we can work together as far as their goals for the year. And like Ms. Staten just put in the chat, we'll definitely have time for questions at the end, or I might take a break at some point and ask for questions. But any questions you have, feel free to drop them in the chat through our session, but we can also hop on the microphones at the end to ask. Two really, really massive, gigantic, huge things that I always emphasize when I do these sessions with families and that we'll revisit at the end are the process of checking and understanding student progress is a collaborative and ongoing effort between students, learning partners, and TRECA staff. Is checking and understanding progress isn't just your students' job or just our job or just your job as learning partners. We all need to work together on that. The second idea is that asking questions or asking for help is always welcome and encouraged. We're here to support you and your student and want to see them succeed. We're all on the same team. At this point of the year, we do have students who are entering TRECA from a local school district that they attended, and now they're starting new. So I totally understand, especially in those circumstances. It can be confusing. It can be a new environment. So at any point, whether you've been here for a day or 2 years, always send those questions to us so we can help. These links are things that we'll revisit at the end. I just want to toss them here so we can look out for them here at the end of our presentation today. These are some great resources from TRECA to help with checking and understanding progress. So the process that we look at today and some of the big ideas we look at, you can also find these in not just the recording of today's meeting, but also in these links here. So look out for those at the end. Those are really helpful to outline the process that we'll look at today. So first we want to talk about Brightspace. Brightspace might be a word that's familiar to you. Some students don't know it's called Brightspace, but Brightspace is our learning management system. It's basically our school building. So by logging into Brightspace each day, students get attendance credit and they're able to access their classes. So when students say, I'm logging into school or I'm logging into TRECA, they're really logging into Brightspace. That's the name of the product that we use to provide students with their education, with their coursework, and that they receive their feedback in as they advance through their classes. So Brightspace is our learning management system where students log in to advance in their coursework and learn. So for this process, we would ask you to sign into Brightspace along with your student. Have them show you their progress is generally the easiest way to do this. Ideally, as your student's learning partner, you should be checking your student's progress at least once a week together. Maybe you can pick a day of the week and make it part of your routine. That way you always know where your student is and how they're doing at any day of the year. There's really no waiting for a formal progress report or report card to come home. You have access to that updated information, that progress information, really every single day, because as students work, their grades are updated and you can see where they are in their classes. There are 2 ways to access courses in Brightspace. I'll show you them here. One is in this section off to the right when students log in that just says My Courses. You can see there's a little tile, little image for every course that they're enrolled in. As well as from the top, there's a little waffle or little 9 squares at the top of the page. You can select that and it serves as a drop down. You can pick their courses. Something I see students do a lot of the time and that maybe you want to help them with is Brightspace has this nice pin feature. Not sure, off to the right side of that red circle, there is a little pin. You can pin classes at the top of the list. Sometimes students they're in a couple extra shells, or maybe they're only focusing on a certain set of classes right now. Um, Pinning the classes at the top kind of holds it at the top for you, so things are easier to access. So just an extra tip there. Inside any Brightspace course, whether your student is an elementary student, middle school student, high school student, the first place they'll be taken in the course is the course home. This will tell you who the teacher is for the class, how to contact the teacher, and their office hours. If your student's having difficulty with the content in the course, please encourage or please help your student to contact the teacher for assistance. That's what we're here for. We would love to support your student and work with them. So anytime you hear a concern about, I can't move forward, I'm stuck, I failed this, I don't know what I'm doing, I want to learn more about this, the teacher for that course would love to work with your student and support you. Sometimes as the learning partner, you can help with that. They might need help writing an email, they might need assistance with making a phone call, or even just someone to kind of stand with them. Sometimes our students, especially when they are newer, feel a little bit uncertain about reaching out. So we want to make sure that they're feeling comfortable and confident in connecting with TRECA staff. From there, for checking our progress, the next step that you would do is click on the Grades tab, which I have circled up there at the top. Grades is going to be where you can see your students' progress in their courses. It will show you what they've attempted so far. Classes at TRECA are broken down into blocks. A block is not complete until every assignment in a block has been passed. Once a grade is earned, you will see a grade filled into that right side under the grades heading, and it would read, what grade they earned, as well as, feedback that they might have received from the teacher. Each block at TRECA is made up of 3 weeks worth of work. So once those 3 weeks of work are completed, the next block would be available to the student. So in the image here, we see this teacher has their grade book kind of labeled kind of nicely, might be a little bit small, but it does say block 1, week 1, the name of the assignment, the grade that the student earned, and then the feedback. So you, as the learning partner, looking at that grades page, are able to see, this is what my student did this week, this is the grade they earned, this is what the teacher said in response to that work. So that just kind of that running list, if you scroll down the page, you'll continue to see the grades filled in through the school year as your student advances. At the very top, you can see the current grade. This student in this class currently has a 92.5, so not a 93% basically, as their current grade based on work that they've completed so far in the class. Often in the feedback area, if you do see that a student has not done well on something, earned a low score, the teacher will leave feedback requesting the student to maybe redo it, or to meet with them, or to complete an alternate assignment. That feedback category on the grades page still can be used for that. Sometimes when I leave feedback for students, the feedback is, please check your email, and I'll send them, the alternate assignment or a request for a meeting there. So that feedback section on the grades page is really nice, because it kind of gives you a roadmap of what we need to do if the student is struggling with an assessment or something that we're looking at in that block. So encourage your student to check there as well. Help them be responsive to that. That's a skill that is really important for not just elementary school, middle school, high school, but going on in life, being able to take that feedback, and communicate. You as learning partners help so much with developing those skills. So like we had said, in every block of work, there are 3 weeks. So every 3 weeks, students should be completing a block of work in their classes. Students at TRECA, all come from unique backgrounds, circumstances, reasons for coming to TRECA. So if you're ever feeling unsure about if your student is making enough progress to finish by the end of the school year, or to achieve the goal that they've set for themselves this year, make sure you're constantly communicating with their advisor, with your teachers, with their counselor, and kind of let us know, like, hey, like we really want to make sure that this my ninth grade student is able to catch up on credits this year and get where they should be at this point of the year. um, Communicating those goals really helps us to formulate those individual plans about what you should be doing every week to get to that goal. For a typical student who started the school year, our school year started April 9th, or not April 19th, August 19th. We would say that if they are completing a week of work, or a block of work every 3 weeks, they would be on track to finish their classes within the school year. So the example student here says Grace is a new student at TRECA who started Algebra 1 at the beginning of the school year on August 19th. The first week of school, Grace should have finished block one, week one. The second week of school, Grace should finish block one, week two. And the third week of school, Grace should finish block one, week three. And then block one is done. We finished those 3 weeks of work. Grace is on into block two for that class. So that's kind of like the basic template of what we ideally need to see from students, their progress across all of their classes. Whether they're an elementary student or a high school student, that level of progress should help them to complete the academic year by the end of the school year if they had started back in August. Something also that we always need to keep in mind, not just for TRECA students, but any online student in the state of Ohio, is that all online students in Ohio are accountable for working 5 minutes or 5 hours and 10 minutes each school day. So if your student finishes their weekly work across all their classes within that amount of time, or their daily work within that amount of time, they will still need to push forward and continue to work. That Today we're mostly talking about progress, advancing in our classes, getting to where we need to be to meet our academic goals. The other half of that is attendance. We need our students to be working at 5 hours and 10 minutes a day within across all of their classes. So those two elements, attendance and progress, really go hand in hand. If students are putting in that time, they should have no problem advancing through their classes. But if they find that, hey, like I am putting in that time, I'm working at 5 hours, 10 minutes, and I'm not able to advance at this pace of a block every 3 weeks, that's a really important conversation to have with your teachers, advisors, to make sure we can help you, be advancing at that rate. Yeah, so let's look at a few more things here. Just one thing I really want to emphasize for the high school level, this is most applicable to our high school students who I work with, is that a lot of times our students at the high school have very specific goals that they set for themselves for the school year. Again, we're at a great point of the school year where we have students coming in at the end of the semester from their local school districts, and they've transferred to TRECA. We've had students who maybe started here after the first quarter, and they're looking at what's coming up for them next school year, if they want to return to their local school district, or if they want to come back next year. Those are all really individual things that we want to work with you on and figure out what we need to do between now and in June to get you where you need to be. So just some examples of situations I see students in. Might be Alexander. Alexander joined TRECA this school year and should be a senior. However, at his previous school, Alexander failed several classes and is still a junior. He has a goal to graduate this year, but will need to complete more than a traditional school year of work. So there you go. Like, this student really wants to get to graduation, should get to being a senior, but is a few credits behind due to failing some classes or missing some classes at a previous school. That would be a goal we need to set to work at a more advanced pace. Instead of completing a block of work in some classes every 3 weeks, maybe we need to complete that block of work in 2 weeks in some of our classes, and really push forward if that's our goal. The great thing about TRECA is we do, for many classes, allow students to work at a faster pace to catch up, to recover credits, or get ahead. So really communicating that goal to his teacher, to his advisor, to his counselor, really helps us to know, hey, Alex, this is the pace we need to go between now and the end of the year to achieve this goal. And communicating that goal the early as possible is really helpful. Like, I love having those conversations in January and February rather than in May. I think things are a lot easier to figure out now than a couple months into the spring. Another example, Terry, let's say Terry joined TRECA this year and is taking several college level classes through the College Credit Plus program. That's a program where students can earn credit for high school and college simultaneously. It's a really great program. That's going to change what their schedule looks like. There's going to be some really demanding college level classes that they're taking through a local university. And they might only be taking several, elective classes here at TRECA. What does that do for their schedule? How do we set that up? That's a unique circumstance, a unique goal we want to work with Terry on. Finally, just another example, Allie is returning to TRECA after a very successful and productive junior year and wishes to try to graduate early. Every year we see students who really push themselves to get done in 3.5 years or 3 years. They really want to accomplish that goal of graduating early. So you would have to work at a more advanced rate across most classes than just one block every 3 weeks. So whatever that goal is, is going to be unique to that student and their needs for their credit. So that would be something that we could work with the students' advisors and teachers on. So again, just the big take-home message is, if your student does have a specific goal, to communicate that to their advisors and teachers for as soon as possible, so we can help them achieve that goal. Another person who you've probably already been in contact with through the year is your student's advisor. At the high school and middle school level, students have advisors. They provide a great overview of a student's classes and can help support students and learning partners with setting work progress goals or creating detailed overviews of the students so far this year. So as a teacher for American government, I know all about your students' American government class. I can help them with the content, but I really don't know what they're doing over in Algebra 2 or in English 3. Those are things that the content teacher can support. But for setting general progress goals, the advisor is going to be a great resource to say, hey, you're in block 5 of government, block 4 of English, block 7 of math. So really, we need to advance at this rate to get to your goal this year. That's kind of what they're there for. They specialize in setting those goals that are unique to your student and helping them get to where they need to be for their credits and for the school year. At the elementary level, students each have their teacher. They don't have a formal advisor in most circumstances. So the teacher would be the one who is keeping an eye on that progress, communicating that to you. The teacher would love to continue to support you and making sure you stay on track in your classes. They'll contact you through the year, as will the advisor at the middle and high school level, to update you about your students' progress and learning. Quick note, this probably showed up in your mailboxes at home in the past few weeks, or should have. Each year, TRECA sends home a printed and mailed progress report to your home. This usually goes out in late January when we're about halfway through the school year. So if you receive that and have any questions, definitely be in contact. It lists all the contact information for your student. If you didn't receive one, stick around afterwards. We can figure out if we had the right address for you. But I think those were sent home in the middle of January, so it should have arrived home by now. Those are a good overview of where your students are. Again, we don't need to wait for the progress report to know where our student is. We can go to Brightspace, open the class, click on the grades tab, and that will tell us exactly where they are any time of the school year. I did ask an advisor, that role here at TRECA, who helps support setting goals for students, what tips they would have for checking progress and supporting students. They told me to really know who each staff member is supporting your student here at TRECA. So who are my students' teachers? Who's my student's advisor? Who's my student's counselor? What's the difference between those two roles, and how can they support my student? Don't hesitate to reach out early and often at the start of the school year or as you start TRECA, especially if you're hearing your student falling behind, voicing frustrations, you're not seeing progress on that grades page, you're not seeing it getting filled in through the year. Don't wait until that paper progress report comes home. Use that, those tools that we have in Brightspace to check the grades page and see how they're doing and what the teacher's saying as part of their feedback. Advisors encouraged us to check our email spam folders just to ensure no email communications are getting lost there. I haven't had an issue with that for a long time. Just depending on your email provider, it might be good to take a peek there every so often, just for in case anything gets sent there. TRECA's phone number is at 888-828-4798. I'd encourage you to add this to your contacts for the next time TRECA calls you or gives you someone from TRECA gives you a call. I don't pick up the phone. I don't know who it is. I'm always suspicious of like random numbers calling me and let it go to voicemail. But that should always be someone from TRECA calling if you see that pop up on your caller ID. If your high school student has a special goal for the school year, communicate that early, like I went over a little bit ago, or as they enroll, to the enrollment staff for them to pass along, and ensure that all of your contact information is up to date in the Evolve portal. So you're receiving all the calls, emails, like everything that we need to get to you through this school year. If you have a preferred method of communicating, let us know. Sometimes I'll call parents and they're at work. I get it. Like I have kids in school and my kids' school always is emailing, sending lots of emails, automated robocalls. Like it's a lot to keep up with. I totally know that. So we do want to be respectful of your time, the space in your inbox, on your voicemail. So if there's a best time to contact you or to reach you, communicate that to your advisor or teachers, so we can make sure we're being respectful of your life and everything you have going on outside of supporting your students here at TRECA. Advisors also recommended keeping a block calendar. This should be available to students in the advisor's homeroom, which is a class that the students are enrolled in. It kind of lists for students where they would ideally be at this point of the school year in each of their classes, as well as our days and breaks off. So right now we are at February 12th. So ideally, kids who started this school year at the beginning of the year are working in block 8. So your student, if they started back in August, they would ideally be working in block 8 for a 12 block class. It might be a little behind, might be ahead. Those are things to always keep an eye on. That's a great resource to print out, kind of tape up on the wall next to the computer, next to the desk area, to kind of keep an eye on that overall progress for students. And then just wanted to revisit these before we get into questions. Those 2 massive ideas that hopefully have come through today. And then just continue to remember is that checking and understanding of students' progress is collaborative and ongoing between the students, learning partners, and staff. Students, we want them to take ownership of their learning, be honest, be engaged with what they're doing, fulfill their attendance requirements, and ask questions and communicate. Learning partners, we want you to support your students and be aware of how important you are in motivating them and congratulating them and giving them praise and kind of keeping an eye on how they're doing through the school year. And TRECA staff, your student has their teachers, their advisors, their counselors. They have a whole team of people cheering them on and wanting them to do well. And that goes into the second part. We always want you to ask questions. There's never a silly question or a bad question. We're here to support your student and want to see them succeed. We're all on the same team. We want to see them, especially at the high school level, get to that graduation. That's the goal for a lot of students I'm working with this year is walk at graduation. Awesome. We want that too. We want to see you with that cap and gown. And that's our goal for all students, is to find their path, get to where they want to be, and achieve their academic goals when our school year has ended. Miss Staten is going to drop the links to these resources in the chat here in a few minutes or a few seconds here. The first and second one are a support page that TRECA has. That is the process that I showed you about how to go into Brightspace, click on the grades page, how to do that. So if I went through that a little bit quickly, or you want to try that out later tonight with your student when they're logged in, do go ahead and bookmark that or save it. If you, for some reason, lose the link or want to come across it later, reach out, ask your advisor, or you can email me or Miss Staten even, if you'd like access to that link again, and we can send it to you. It's just that simple process of logging into Brightspace, finding the class, grades page. It will show you your students' progress, what block they're in, and their scores. The last one there is just a kind of a fun video with Mrs. Monin, who's one of our, she's an advisor and our English language learner coordinator. So she kind of goes over this process as well, just kind of in a quick bite-sized video form. So it's another way to see this information. But that is all we had as far as just the formal portion of here's how we'd recommend checking progress. Here's why you're so important as learning partners. And then those links also show you it. We just definitely wanted to open it up if anyone has any specific questions that we could support about anything we looked at today or anything that you're hearing from your students so far this year.